Hey guys, OGalbina here, and boy oh boy, do I have a really long video for you guys today. I don't know what I did, what the idea going through my mind when I asked this question, but I asked you guys on Twitter for our next Twitter discussion video, what are your hottest Pokemon Draft League takes? I thought this one would be popular, but we have at least 66 replies of just hot takes alone. That's not even counting all of the hundreds of replies I have on this thread. So it's actually pretty insane the amount of, interaction we really ended up getting with this question. I really do appreciate it, guys. Because of that, though, if it's a more lukewarm take, if it's not really that hot of a take, I'm kind of going to skim over it. And I'm sorry if that's your take. What do you call it? And I end up skimming over yours. I do appreciate your comment. I hope you comment on the next one. But again, we're going to kind of focus on the more spicy ones. Maybe the ones I'm like, hell yeah, somebody finally said it out loud. Or like, damn, this was not very smart. So I am going to kind of roast, I guess, or rip into a couple of these takes if I don't agree with them. And I'm going to agree with the other ones. So I hope you guys enjoy. I think this will be a really fun video. If you like, be sure to, like the video. And sub if you're new. We're on our way to 1,000 subs. And I'd really appreciate it if you helped us out along that journey. But yeah, if I also think your hot take is bad, don't get mad. Obviously, you post it knowing that most people don't agree with you. That's the whole point of a hot take, is that it's kind of an opinion that you have that everybody else doesn't. So again, keep that in mind. No hurt feelings here. I'm gonna say if I think your idea is dumb though, or if it's wrong. It's just straight up how this is gonna go. And I'll agree with you if I think something is right. And again, the more lukewarm takes, the cold takes, I'm just gonna skim over them because sometimes people are like, don't get mad at hacks, or drowning is bad, things like that. It's not really a hot take, you know what I mean? But yeah, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, first up we have the token minorities, presumably our good friend Styx. I think Styx is the active one on the DTM Twitter. He says, Trick Room was one of the most underutilized and devastating strategies in draft, as most draft/players are not prepared for it. However, poorly drafted Trick Room can easily leave you winless if you don't build right, i.e. a couple naturally speedy options and good momentum. So I do think that in Gen 8 in particular, that Trick Room is much better than it was before, just due to the fact that a lot of Trick Room mons getting teleport, giving that slow guaranteed momentum out. I think the issue with Trick Room in singles is a lot of the time it's pretty tough to position it for a sufficient amount of turns to really get the value you want out of it, unless you can set it up multiple times throughout the game. So I think if you can facilitate a team, like I said, Trick Room multiple times throughout the game, and have that really solid Trick Room setter, that Slow King in particular is a great Trick Room setter, as well as Slow Bro. I think they're great with Teleport plus Trick Room plus Regen, allowing them to get healthy without taking passive turns to like slack off or anything like that. I think in that instance, Trick Room can be very, very solid, as well as you have like a Trick Room setter that forces in things that your Trick Room abuser wants to bully. So I think those are really, really important aspects. Like again, say you have a Mega Mawile or something like that. And sorry, they're talking outside. And you have a Slow Bro or something like that. You force in the Dark type, you Trick Room into Teleport because you're Colbur or something like that. And you get in your Mega Mawile and you have it in for free on something that just automatically dies to it. You can either just attack, you can potentially sub up, you can potentially, again, probably just attack, because again, we want to take advantage of our Trick Room turns. So I definitely think Trick Room is very solid if, again, like Styx here said, if it's, built around correctly and you don't just have like Trick Room plus 4 slow mon, like, obviously you have to have a balance too. Hard Trick Room is also bad in my opinion. Next up, we have Gohan here saying, Mons drafting is the most important part of determining Team Tour success. Now, I'm not the most well-versed in Team Tours, I'll be honest. My biggest Team Tour experience is just playing in Clash a lot. In there, I play mostly Little Cup. But at least from my experience, I think this is a pretty... okay take, a pretty reasonable take at the very least, to be able to kind of say that, if everybody's drafting optimally and they have these like very solid cores, and a lot of it comes down to everybody's having like the same crazy building support, everybody's a very good player because it's a team tour and they're chosen to be drafted, what can kind of set you apart is how good your team is, how well you're matching up, and things like that. So I think that's definitely fair. Next up, we have some obvious bait, and I'm just going to kind of skim over this one. I think it's very funny that some people thought this was real. I don't think Aquarius did. I think she's also joking around. But our good friend Ethan, which, by the way, I wanna go to this. Ethan, I'm his only follower because I found out that Ethan here is my biggest fan because he's a burner account that was created in October 2021, and his only tweet is responding to my Draft League Twitter question. So Ethan, thank you, bro. I appreciate you. But Ethan here thinks that your ability to play Pokemon comes down to your testosterone level. Low test promoted higher passive passive levels of brain influence, promoting stall and fat playstyles, while high testosterone promotes aggressive and risky types of play. Aquarius is saying I am the living proof against this, which is very funny. I thought this tweet was funny. I like this response from Partage here, which is pretty cool. And then there were some people who were like, I can't believe you would say this. What on earth is this take? Obviously, they don't think this. Or if they do, they don't think this. My takeaway from this take here is chill out. We're on the internet. Like, not everybody's... whatever. I just thought it was funny how many people were like, you can't say that. Alright, next up we have Thriller saying, I think in terms of what players need to stop doing a lot of times is, we all just say people get lucky and win because of hacks, so I think in the end of the day we all need to remember it's Pokemon, it's a game, give chance time to accept and move on. Again, this is pretty lukewarm, like, obviously, I guess I'll kind of touch on, like, all of, like, that. It's okay if you get hacks, don't be mad. I agree to an extent, obviously, this is a game, and you shouldn't let it, like, adversely affect your day, your overall general mood, and things like that. I think that's not healthy, but to be like... You're not allowed to be upset when you put time into something and things don't go your way and aren't, when they're in the, and when it's in your odds for them to go your way and you feel like you played well, you put yourself in a good position. To say don't get mad, I think is ridiculous personally. And I think it's super fake and superficial and kind of pretending like you're not upset about something when you obviously definitely are, but like kind of keeping the fun like, hey man, that's just the game. Great game, bro. It's stupid. And obviously I know a lot of people are gonna be like, well, yeah, because you get mad. I do, but I'm also just not gonna pretend like I'm not mad if I, you know, put in an hour and a half, 2 hours to preparing a team, and then I mock, and I gen in my team, and I set up LAN, and then I get cheesed out of a game. Of course I'm gonna be upset. I could have been doing so much more other with my time, but I chose to play Pokemon with it, and again, that's my choice, but at the same time, if I'm putting in that time and, you know, things are kind of blowing up in my face, you know, against, you know, how hard I'm kind of working and, you know, things like that. I don't know. It's frustrating, and I think it's dumb when people say, like, you can't get mad. Yes, you can. I don't care if you get mad. If I hack the shit out of you and you yell at me and you're like, I should have beat you, for sure, dude. I don't care. Like, obviously, I won. I'm gonna be in a better mood. You saying, like, I hacked you, obviously, I know that. It's not gonna make me go spiral and fall in a hole. You're the one who got fucked over. I won, you know? So, I don't know. I'm personally not the biggest fan of the mindset of, you know, pretend like you're happy and shake hands and say good luck, have fun, and all that shit. Like, nobody cares. It's all fake and superficial anyways, because immediately after the game, you're gonna go complain to your friends anyways, which is fine. But, like, you're obviously upset, so. I don't know, that's just me. Next up, we have Bennett Bandit saying Rain has some of the best offensive and defensive utility in the format. Now, if he's talking about national decks, I don't think this is a very hot take. Rain is a very consistent playstyle. It's very easy to use. It's very easy to build with. I think in Galar decks, though, I'm not a big fan of Rain. It kind of ties into this next one, which will kind of, I guess, just segue right into with Matt saying whether it's overrated as fuck. I think Rain in Galar decks, which is what Matt typically plays. He doesn't play any Showdown, Nat decks, things like that very often. But I think that Rain in Galadex is very bad when you have a format that just doesn't have a Mega Swampert. I think when your best abuser of your Rain is potentially one, not a Rain Sweeper. If you have like a, you know, Torn T Rain or like a Tapu Koko Rain, Zera Rain, Zapdos Rain, things like that, when that's probably your best Pokemon on that Rain team. Alongside the fact that your best Rain, like, abuser Sweeper is like Kingdra, Kabutops? I'm trying to think of what's good. Barraskewda, who, as cool as he is, unfortunately is just not very good. I think Rain is not very good in that sense. I don't think Sun is overrated, just because the Sun and Hail are overrated, just because they're not very commonly drafted, and you're not going to draft an entire Hail team. You're not going to draft an entire Sun team. You're going to have a Sun Aspect. You're going to have a Torkoal and a Venusaur. You're going to have a Ninetales and a Bombsnow and an Arctozolt or a Sandslash or something dumb like that, you know, at the lower end. So, I think those are overrated. I think Sand is a bit of a crutch for some players and can be overrated, but I also think Sand is very good. So I guess in the context of Rain, I think Rain is not very good in Galar decks, which is what Matt's kind of probably talking about right here. Next up, though, he says boots are important, but not game-breakingly good. I 100% agree. I know there's a lot of people who don't like boots because they're everywhere, but just because something is present and everywhere does not mean it's broken. Actually, I guess one of my hot takes is I think that boots just kind of shined the light on how broken the Hazards game was and how over-centralizing rocks and spikes and things like that were. And now that people can't rely on that crutch of Hazard stack, they think boots are broken, where I think it was the opposite. I think hazards were a little bit more unbalanced. So next is 10-minute chest timer is better than 60-minute regular timer. Land as a hoe though. See, I agree. I like the 10-minute chest timer because it puts the time in your hands. If you're slow and you're taking too long, you are going to be punished regardless of how far you're ahead and things like that, opposed to like the Gen 7 60-minute timer where I could be playing bad, but I could be up a couple Pokemon. I see that there's 3 minutes left. I'm taking 60 seconds per turn and I'm winning the game. Well, in that context, go ahead, take your win con. I'm not upset about that, but I think objectively, a 10-minute chess timer is better because you have to win the game. You know, you have to play well, outplay your opponent, knock out all 6 of their Pokemon, or wait for them to run out of time because they took too long. But also, I feel like much less games go to timer this than in like Gen 7 Wi-Fi and things like that. So I agree with you. Ubers Leagues are more fun than Standards League. This makes sense. I know Matt really loves him some BBL, as do I. I love my other metagame draft leagues, though. I love playing Gen 6 and Gen 7. I love playing Little Cup. I'm not the biggest low tier guy, but there's like a bunch of fun, really cool formats that you can play. Draft-wise, I love Gen 3 draft, ADV draft in the, I almost said the home Kazakh, the Emerald Open Kazakh Tour. So I think stuff like that's fun, but I think the reason it's fun is because it breaks up the monotony of standard draft. I think standard draft overall is more fun. We just play more of it. So when we break up the monotony and we play Ubers, Little Cup, ADV, Gen 6, Gen 7, it's, you know, it's a nice little step away from the standard and we enjoy it a little bit more. And then next up, we have a lot of these are just like X Pokemon are not good. Jirachi, Riolu, and Genarm are not good Pokemon. I don't agree. I think Jirachi has great utility, whether it be as a Scarfer, as a Calm Minesweeper, as a Rocker, as a Wish Passer, as a Pivot with U-Turn. I think Rillaboom does the same thing. It's a great pivot, it's a great breaker, it's a great sweeper, it's a great cleaner. It's a really solid Pokemon. And same thing with Genarm. Again, great revenge killer, great Scarfer, great with a band. And I think for their price points, they're very good Pokemon. I know a lot of people really shit on Rillaboom in this thread, which I just don't understand. Okay, next up, we have probably like the most controversial take on this thread. And I'm not going to go into like the million replies that it has. It's more than 8, I promise you. I know it'll only say 8 here in a second when I scroll down. Easy. I'm going to be recording for a long time, so if I yawn a bunch, I feel like I always yawn when I record. So if I yawn a bunch, my bad, it's just going to happen. But we have Badass Frostlass here saying 1, 2, okay. There we go. Sorry, I got some text on my phone I had to check. Ooh. Okay, so next up we have Badass Frostlass, and he says luck minimization is a skill, and coaches who use low accuracy moves are bad because they're willing to make luck a factor. Moves like Hurricane, Fire Blast are a sign the coach isn't confident in their ability to win with more accurate moves like Air Slash and Flamethrower. And this take, it boggled a lot of people's minds, but it really fucking boggled my mind. I get luck minimization, right? I think the first part of this take is completely valid, right? Saying that there are positions in which you can put yourself to not just outright lose to X threat or X mon because of a miss, a crit, whatever it might end up being. But to say that you should never have to take a risk in order to win a game, you should not run Fire Blast or Hurricane or Blizzard on your Rotom Frost it's mind-boggling to me. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It kind of puts building in this like black or white like bubble, like you do this and you win, you do this, you lose. When it's not true. Maybe I need that Fire Blast to grab that Oko or that 2KO on that Mon after rocks. Maybe I need the same thing with Hurricane. Maybe Air Slash just doesn't break sub on a certain Pokemon. Like there's so many different factors in conjunction with, you know, accurate move is good, that I don't think you can just put it in a bubble and say like, you know, if you run inaccurate moves, you're bad and you're worse than the coaches who win with Flamethrower. I think that's a bullshit take, personally. So, and I get the first part of it, and I get the like the general idea of luck minimization, but I do not agree with the fact that coaches who use inaccurate moves are bad because they're willing to take a risk. Those are calculated risks. Pokemon in general is a calculated risk. If you're taking a calculated risk and making a double, expecting your opponent to switch out, and you get that wrong, you lost that risk. Like, it's the same thing as basically like missing a move, I guess, in like a very overgeneralized way. But if you get that played right, you're in a phenomenal position. Same thing with hitting a Fire Blast. It's different from using like Dynamic Punch. If it's pretty severely in your favor still to hit a Fire Blast, a Focus Blast, or Hurricane, something like that, I don't know. Personally, this was one of the craziest takes for me, but that's what this video is for. And again, Basketball, he's a very solid Wi-Fi coach. He's doing very well in all of his leagues, and he's a very good player. And his philosophy works for him, but I think, like, when kind of talking about everybody, I think that takes a little bit crazy, personally. And the hero does read a most unsettling passage, Incog. Next up, we have Incog saying, people often blame their drafts, but I think personally they look into themselves when failure arises. You're only as good as your draft, but this is also true vice versa. Also, stop drafting Pokemon you're not going to use to fill out roster slots. I kind of get what he's trying to say here, in the sense that, like, people can kind of complain about their drafts and, like, my draft was bad, my matchup was bad, whereas they could have built better, they could have prepared better, they could have played better, and things like that. But again, like he said, and he kind of said this too, it does come down to both areas. If you have a shitty draft that you're not comfortable with, you're not going to perform well too. And I think that I'm someone who definitely struggles with that as well, is drafting. I'm a very bad drafter. I always need help drafting. It's a very, very tough skill of mine that I really need to work on. But I definitely agree with this take. I think that's fair to an extent. And then also stop drafting Pokemon you're not going to use just to fill out a roster spot. We've talked about this before. Don't draft Armaldo because you want spin. You're not bringing Armaldo. Get something else that's going to give you a little bit more value, or, you know, draft 9 Pokemon instead of 10 and upgrade one of the Pokemon you already have on your team, and kind of just deal with the fact that you have shitty hazard removal because you decided to not, you know, prioritize earlier. You're not bringing Armaldo to a Gen 8 Draft League game, so maybe you shouldn't draft it. Third, people can still win games if they stop getting upset and flustered so quickly. 100% true. There's been so many instances where I've seen people, or it's happened to me, get absolutely cheesed in a game early on though, and from there they think the game's over. And again, that's happened to me multiple times. It happens to me all the time still, and it's a really tough thing to kind of get over. But I've also had the opposite happen, where I've gotten cheesed in a game early on and I still outplayed and put myself in a position to win. I've seen it from other people too. So don't think because something unfortunate happened that you immediately lose. Now, that can definitely happen, but especially early in the game, if you end up getting kind of bullshitted out of something and put in a tough spot, you just might have to play aggressive enough to kind of put yourself back in that position to, you know, win. And fourth and finally, not everyone needs to make a league that adds nothing to the pot of leagues. Sorry, running the same formats into the ground isn't innovative. It's just inventive. Sorry, I can't read. It's just boring. This is one I don't agree with. I don't know. I think it's a weird thing that the Wi-Fi community does only, or they're like, you know, it has to be innovative, or it has to have new coaches, or it has to do this crazy new thing. No, it fucking doesn't. I want to make a YouTube league that me and my friends, or me and other content creators can upload because we enjoy playing draft. I don't think you have to be inventive or create something new or do anything like that. If you want to play Pokemon Draft League, then fucking play Pokemon Draft League. If you want to play with your 8 friends and you have your 8 friends to your invite-only league, you aren't required to add, you know, new people so everybody feels nice and included and things like that. I think that's dumb, personally. I think that if you want to play standard draft back-to-back seasons because you're having fun with it, you enjoy uploading, or whatever the reason may be, then you should do it. I don't think you need to worry about other people thinking it's boring. If other people think it's boring, they don't have to watch. That's my opinion. And I also think that a lot of draft creators and a lot of draft league people and stuff like that think they need to be innovative so they grab views and do all these things. I'll tell you right now, brother, if you're in this for the views, you're probably making content on the wrong thing. So play draft if you enjoy it, is my suggestion. Next up, we have Fran here saying passive Pokemon are not inherently bad, as long as they have a strong pivoting tool to bring in a strong wall breaker. Mons like P2, the Pink Blobs, and Corviknight are good because of their strong momentum ability, good defensive typing, and strong utility, not their offense. So I agree to an extent, but I wouldn't call a Pokemon passive if it can grab very consistent momentum. I'm on like Corviknight, I wouldn't call passive in the sense that it can, again, get very free slow U-turns out in a lot of instances. It has taunt for fatter, more slow things, and can do things like that. Blissey and Chansey a little bit more because they're kind of taunt bait and they can't really always fit teleport, but I think in Gen 8 especially, they're much less passive than they would have been like Gen 7. And same thing with P2, but also I don't think P2 is passive in the slightest. I might not be the biggest P2 fan, but that shit with an Anti-Link boost, Tri-Attacks don't feel good, Shadow Balls don't feel good, Bolt Beam, Foul Play, all those cool options don't feel good on top of Trick Room and Teleport and Recover and Thunder Wave and things like that. P2 is like the opposite of, what do you call it, passive to me. I think people associate passive with bulky, and that's not necessarily what passive means, in my opinion. So, next up we have John Jr. saying the removal of hidden power was a healthy change. I talked to a lot of people on Discord about this take, and I know a lot of people are like, I don't agree, I miss hidden power, blah, blah, blah. I don't like hidden power at all, personally. I like when my Heatran doesn't lose to Volcarona, personally. I don't like that my Arcanine can suddenly call upon the power of water and use HP water. Now, obviously, Arcanine's not running HP water, but the fact that it can doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know, and I get it's Pokemon, it's not supposed to make sense, whatever it might be, but again, I don't know. I like the fact that Pokemon have specific move pools and coverage that are thematic to them and, you know, make them thrive in certain situations and be bad in others. I don't like that my Heatran can get smashed through by a HP ground from X random Pokemon that should not have ground coverage for a reason. So, again, in my opinion, I like Hidden Power being gone. Do I think Hidden Power is objectively broken? No, I don't think it's objectively broken, but I prefer it not being in the game, personally. I'm not a big Hidden Power guy. Next up, we have Trexo here saying your draft is trash because you did not plan. I think this is fair once you get to a certain point, right? If it's round 1, 2, 3, I don't think you should have a full draft plan yet. I'll be honest, because there's so much that can happen. You can get sniped on so many different things, as well as the fact that, again, you're really pigeonholing yourself into getting a specific draft plan, and what if something crazy falls later and it completely throws you off? You don't end up getting it because you want to stick to your draft plan, or you do end up getting it because of, you know, X random reason, and then your plan's fucked because you drafted, you know, these Pokemon before this other role, and now you need this, and it gets sniped, and a bunch of different things like that. So, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of planning early, but once you get to a certain point, you need to realize, okay, these are my options for this role. I need to prioritize this because my team really needs a Wish Pass. My team really needs a Cleric. I need an Ice Resist. I need a Ground Resist. Things like this. You have to prioritize these things and kind of tick off those roles that you need to acquire on your team once you get to a certain point, or your team's just going to be a jumbled mess full of fun shit that you want to use, and then it's not going to mesh together, and you're going to wonder why you're 1 and 7. So I definitely do think that, like, planning out and understanding what you need on your team is really important. It's just a matter of kind of getting there, you know? Then we say, unless you're a top 10%, oh yeah, sorry. It was the same take. I'll read the rest of it though. Unless you're top 10% player, you cannot draft without a plan without it turning out shit. Drafting is by far the hardest thing to do in draft format, especially in leagues that don't do Grace Period. I also hate Grace Period. Another hot take. I think if you draft shitty, you should get punished, and you should be able to use your transaction speed too, and it should count towards your season. I do not like Grace Period. It defeats the whole purpose of fucking drafting, in my opinion. I cannot stand it. I think it's very soft and lame. Okay. Next up, we have Steve Marcus with a great take here. Geopolitical conflicts should be decided in a Torn T 1v1. If you want to win your debate, you need to go ahead and hit those hurricanes more than your opponent does. Maybe even get a confusion to show you really want it. So I agree, Marcus, 100%. Here's Amel. Stop whining if you lose to luck. That's literally what the game is. Again, we kind of talked about this earlier. I love you, Amel. I love Amel Obama so much. He's a great dude, but I think this is a terrible take. The game is not literally just luck. It's a game of odds, but the game is not luck. Like it's a game of percentages. It's not a game of luck. And I think if you miss 3 moves in a row, you get crit twice in a row to lose a game, something like that, you're allowed to be upset personally. So I'm not a big fan of this. I think this is idealistic bullshit. So I'm not a big fan. Next up, we have the best take though. So thankfully we move on to a good one right after. And for the love of God, stop clicking U-turn. And I think I get what Greg's trying to say here is, a lot of the times, you'll see Draft League player click U-turn, and it's like a big like meme and stuff like that, and you'll see people just grab constant momentum, but then, if you look at things in the grand scheme of things, they're not actually forcing any progress. They're just continuously clicking U-turn in a cycle until their opponent can eventually break out of said cycle and put themselves back in the game. Whereas I think momentum is best used in order to get your opponent in a position where they're giving you pieces, giving you, you know, incredibly valuable chip on X Pokemon so you can win with Y Pokemon in the back, grabbing the instant KO because you grab that momentum on the slower passive threat, and then you bring your big wall breaker and you kill something. So U-turn should be used to facilitate progress and facilitate your offense, or even facilitate your defense and get yourself in a good position to get a free recover off if you really need to recover up your Milotic or something like that. So I think that's what U-turn and Volt Switch and Flip Turn and Baton Pass and Teleport, all these momentum moves, should be used for. It should not be used for to just continuously click momentum. It's cool that you know your opponent's going to switch and you're going to know they continue to switch, but if you're not getting anything out of that, it's kind of pointless, you know what I mean? Next up, we have a ton from Zazo here, which is really fun. So we're going to go through his really quick, just because, dang it, it's not going to let me. I want to go through them one by one, but Twitter sucks, and it's like doing them all out of order. Okay, look, I guess we can go like this, right? Okay, first we have odds are whoever you think is the best player, draft league player you know, averages more than 5 misplays a game, has dysfunctional EVs while also lacking multifunctional team building usage, and wins games because their opponent couldn't capitalize on their winning position. How do I say this? I agree. I think unless you're in the top 1% of Showdown Leagues, Showdown Tours, and things like that, this is true. And I say this including myself. I think on Wi-Fi, I'm one of the better players. Then we go into the Showdown side of the community, which I'm actually probably more active in, what I enjoy playing in more. And in these upper echelon leagues, and even not even the top echelon leagues, I'm not even consistently a top division guy, because there are players that are much, much better. And I think the reason, and again, it kind of comes back to the whole idea that Showdown players are better than, Wi-Fi players, whereas that may not be the case for like the general player. Maybe like the general Wi-Fi player is, you know, more skilled than like X random dude in a Showdown league with his friends. But I think the upper echelon of Showdown coaches are so much more astronomically better than us that just, you know, play in our fun Wi-Fi leagues and stuff like that and go 12-0 in our Wi-Fi leagues. I think it would be a really big wake-up call to see a lot of the Wi-Fi community kind of go into that side of the community and, you know, see how it goes. And obviously, you're not required to, and I'm not saying, like, you suck. But I think, like, the difference between the upper echelon of players, like the tippy top of the draft community, is a lot farther away than we think. And again, that's myself included. I do not consider myself up there whatsoever. So I'm not just shit-talking like you guys suck. I'm also not up there, so I think that's crazy. And again, I know a lot of Wi-Fi guys get really upset whenever I say this, because I've said this before, but I really do think it's true. But we'll go on to the next one. Well, I guess we'll just go from the bottom up, right? And 3, it says, what should players start doing more? Creating dedicated leads in the team builder and having the ability to spiderweb in the first 2 turns minimum. This means being able to count for 8 different leads, followed by having counterplay for 7 switch outs / 4 moves clicked that turn. And by the way, if you don't know who Zazo is and you're, you know, a recent draft league guy, you watch Wi-Fi content, things like that, Zazo is, again, in that upper echelon of draft league players, probably considered, you know, a top 5 player of all time, damn near, or something close to it. So it's definitely someone that I would definitely respect the opinion of when it comes to these things. And when it comes to this build, this lead thing, this is something that took me a long time, right? Because I remember when I first started playing draft, I kind of thought, like, in my head, like, well, anything can happen. I don't need a dedicated lead. This isn't Smogon. I'm not running, like, hyper offense webs, you know, things like that. But being able to, like, plan and sequence out your lead, and you'll see it a lot in, like, high-level tournament play. A lot of the times when those first 5 turns are happening, the person who ends up winning the game, they can kind of manipulate the first, like, 5 turns of a game and have it go exactly how they want to put themselves in a good position due to countless mocks and, you know, theory modding and crafting of a specific lead that forces an X Pokemon, which allows this double or this switch or this prediction and things like that, again, to put you in an advantageous position. Opposed to just saying, all right, I'm going to lead my Lando because it's Scarf and it can U-turn. That might be cool. You might be able to U-turn out turn 1, but instead of U-turning out, why not just lead something that leads well into your opponent's most likely lead, or X Pokemon that you don't switch into and things like that. So I think having a dedicated lead isn't like saying, like, a Selgor is my lead because it sets up spikes. It's knowing what your best lead is going into a matchup depending on what you see. If you see a Torn T and you don't switch into Torn T very well, maybe you should lead your Stunfisk, you know? Things like, and again, that's a very big, gross overgeneralization, but I think that's kind of the main gist of it. I could be tripping, but we'll see. Next up is number 2. We have whatever league you think has the best tiering system has a bad tiering system. You might be in favor of your league's point system because they're better at pricing than shitter league that has 8 points, Galar Moltres, but your favorite league is still bad at pricing. The only way to make great progress in pricing is to expand those 18 points into more 40 or 50 points, because there are 25 Pokemon currently and 6 points that are not all the same. Also, Mons should increase the price based on usage in high-level leagues and tours. Now, the last part I would agree in. I think if a Pokemon shows consistent success in X Tour, X League, and it's really good, opposed to just a random dude using Azelf. Well, obviously, if I get 20 kills with Azelf, it shouldn't be a 16-point Mon. But say people are consistently getting top-tier usage out of Azelf, maybe it should move up a point or 2 or something like that. Now, the part that I'm confused about, and maybe Zazo can kind of talk about this in, like, the comments if he ends up watching this video or seeing this, I don't know if you can expand a point system that far, because if your ranges are too big, you're either going to make some Pokemon impossible to draft, or you're obviously going to have to open up a point amount that you do. And if I have, let's say, Torrentine 30 or 35 points is the max, right? Or 40 points is the max. But then I have something like, I don't know, what's another top tier Pokemon? Garchomp, that I can still very viably build a team around in 29 points or 30 points. That's 9 extra points of usage to kind of, fill out my team. And then it kind of takes away from those top tier Pokemon. And again, it kind of makes them a little bit yet less useful. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just not understanding how the scaling would work with 40 points or 50 points as the top tier mons, and it's still going down to 1. Because I don't know. And while some Pokemon are a little bit more inherently valuable in their point tier, I think the difference between a point is pretty big in some instances. And if you're moving things up 2-3 points at a time, I don't know. It's pretty tough for me. I don't know. Next up we have, okay, we'll talk about that one last. That's my favorite take. We'll have 4. We'll do 4. You don't know what a draft league take is if you say everyone should say good luck, have fun at the start of every match. That's a broad statement, and which is a shitty morale principle rule at best. I said that. I agree. I don't know. Like, I guess you could say, like, I think it's nice to say good luck, have fun, and GG after the game. But, like, I don't have to. I don't know. We're playing Pokemon online. I don't know. And, like, you could say, like, I always say it, sure. But to be like, everybody has to do this because it's nice, is a bit of a hot take. And we've had a couple like that already. So, I don't know. I get sportsmanship to a degree. Obviously, if someone hacks you, you shouldn't be like, I'm going to dox you. But, like, I do think that this is definitely fair from Zazu here. Next up we have, if you're someone who mains building all of your Pokemon to run unnatural sets for your Pokemon to counter the Pokemon that counter you, you aren't good at team building and you lack the ability to pull a double. For example, no staff Spectre to counter the normal type. I've said this a lot. It's like Spectre syndrome or Dracovish syndrome, where a lot of times in draft, and I love Josh. I think Josh is a really good builder, a really good player. But Josh did this thing, and again, it worked in NCP. He got a lot of kills with it. But he had Dracovish, right? And he kind of would build his Dracovish in ways to beat the checks and the counters to Dracovish. But the thing is, when you really hyper focus on, having some neat tech in order to beat the one counter, what else does that Pokemon do outside of beating the thing that checks it? If your Dracovish is like sub Whirlpool, or I don't even know if it gets Whirlpool, sub Super Fang Draco to kill the Tangela, are you really going to be that strong with your Fisher Friends when you don't outspeed anything and you just get revenged by X thing in the back now that they know you're not Scarf? I think you're better off forcing progress again with an aggressive double, with hazards, with knockoff spam, with things like that, with kind of an overload principle and having multiple things that force in bulky grasses so that your, what do you call it? Your Dracovish isn't the only thing that's forcing in the Tangela. So I think there's a bunch of ways to kind of like push past checks and things like that, opposed to, coming up with like crazy, sick, nasty tech, if that makes any sense at all. But yeah, I definitely agree. I call it like Dracovish syndrome, Spectre syndrome, where Spectre can beat some of those things, but then if it's not like Scar Specs, Life, or whatever it might be, it's just not as scary to me, Okay, we have 2 more from Zazo here. Number 7 is my favorite. If you say X Pokemon is overrated and underrated with no context, you're the problem. Add some nuance/foresight with data while accounting for different archetypes/systems. What about opportunity cost, utilization of stages of the game? Make a coherent argument. I'm gonna look away because I definitely do this shit. And a lot of the time I feel like people, and again, myself included, I'm 100% guilty of this. And I have multiple videos on the channel where I talk about overrated Pokemon, and I have one I'm making right now about underrated Pokemon, whereas it's all in like a personal preference context, mons that I use well, mons that I don't use well, things like that, opposed to how they fit into different playstyles that might not fit mine, how they might be used, what their price point is, things like that, when they're good, where they're good, things like that, opposed to just like, I don't use this Pokemon well, I don't like it. Now, I do think I make some pretty good arguments. That's why I think certain Pokemon are bad and certain Pokemon are good, but I think a lot of people are guilty of this, and myself included a lot of the time, so it's definitely fair. And then lastly, the best take of the thread, outside of Greg saying, for the love of God, stop clicking U-turn, we have 7. If you are not willing to literally die playing Pokemon, you shouldn't be playing. If you're not willing to harass your opponent to get a mental advantage, you are doing something wrong. If you're taking showers, you're spending less time doing mock battles. 100%. And I think I said it to Zazo in the DMs after he tweeted this. What did I say? Let me find my direct quote. Let's see. If you aren't pushing away your loved ones and destroying personal relationships, it's fine. You just don't want to win. That's the cold, hard, sad truth. But obviously it's a joke, but I like it. It's a good take. Okay, now we can move on past Mr. Zazo on to the next replier. Let's remember it's Golden Nico, and then from there, let's see how many more we have. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. We're getting there, guys. We're 35 minutes deep. We might have to start speeding it up a little bit. Okay. Hazard/hazard removal is overrated. You only need one form of removal, and both can easily play around without boots. This is where it gets crazy. I do agree that hazards aren't as good in Gen 8, and I think if you have one decent remover, or 2, meh ones or whatever it might be, you kind of have the hazard removal you need. I think it's important to have rocks, at the very least a couple rockers. Spikes isn't a requirement anymore in my opinion, but to say that is the case without boots is very interesting to me, because I think the hazards without boots allowed, or in prior generations, are incredibly over-centralizing. So I disagree there. Next up, we have Marcus saying more standard formatted leagues should change their regular seasons up. From Gen 7 to 8, we've gone from 12 weeks to 9 weeks of the same old stuff. But we should be doing circuits, Swiss brackets, double eliminate, and other formats. It would absolutely set more leagues apart. I think this is, again, it kind of ties back to my incog take. I think it'd be cool, and if your league wants to do this, you should do it. But I also think, like, the opinion of, like, don't allow or don't do the standard thing because it's what everybody else is doing is dumb. Do what you want to do, so I'm not the biggest on that. Next up, we have Trexo again saying, for love of God, stop overpricing mons because they bent you over one fucking time. There's no reason to hell to price Blissey at 15 to 16 because you couldn't break it. There are a few Wi-Fi leagues that I do notice do this, where Pokemon that either have done very well versus the commissioners, or are really well used in the commissioner's hands, are kind of overpriced a little bit. I don't see this happen all too much, but it's definitely something I've seen happen a lot with certain mons and people thinking exiting is broken. But I also, if it's not like Wi-Fi leagues, I've seen in a lot of like lower skill like showdown leagues and stuff like that, like friend leagues and stuff like that. So all right, next up we have Seth here saying, my hottest of hot takes has to do with Garchomp. People really do have to learn that it is more there's more to do with this Pokemon than clicking Swords Dance and Scale Shot and basically cheesing their way to a D-bag scumbag win, instant win dumbassery. Are you okay? Whose Garchomp hurt you? Now, I do agree with the take that Garchomp does much better things than just SD and Scale Shot. It's a great rocker. It's solid mix. It has, Ruskin helmet potential. It's a great Scarfer. It's a great breaker with just like Life Orb, 4 attacks, 3 attacks, something like that. SD non-Scale Shot sets are very good too, because Scale Shot's not the most reliable move. But I don't know if I'd describe Swords Dance Scale Shot as cheesing your way to a D-bag scumbag instant win dumbassery. I think that you need to grab more ground resist and water types, more bulky ones, because we shouldn't. I feel like Garchomp's gotten you one too many times, or it was in a really important game. So I don't know if I agree with that one there, Seth. Next up, we have Aquarius again, and she is saying Deoxys Speed is unironically a better Pokemon than Dragapult. Psycho Booster not. Flameo and Flamey will do. This is a terrible take. I love Deoxys Speed, right? I think it's a like pull. It has a great speed tier. It gets spikes, which is really cool. Knock. It's solid offensively. It can nasty plot and Calm Mind. It gets recovery. But to say that it's a better Pokemon than Pult, Psycho Booster not, kind of blows my mind. I feel like that's a personal preference thing. If you're like, I like using Deoxys Speed more, that's fair. But I don't think we can say that it's better than Pult, which I think Pult is objectively the best Pokemon in draft allowed, if it's allowed. I don't know. I'm gonna say no to that one. I think Polt obviously is a little bit stronger. It isn't as fast, but it's you know, it has a decent defensive utility. It's great with boots. It grabs momentum and U-turn. It wisps things. It's specs. It's physical. It's special. It's mixed. It's DD. It does so much. Ghost is the best offensive typing in the game too. I'm gonna say no. Next we have another Rillaboom sucks. Wouldn't pick it for higher than 11 though. Hardball by too much. I think this is wrong. We already talked about Rillaboom. This is the kind of last time I'll touch on Rillaboom, in the sense that I think that it forces its own progress very well. I think the thing with Rillaboom a lot of time is people just see like, things are resisting, or things resist grass moves. But when you're throwing off really fucking strong grass moves in conjunction with rocks, it's really tough switching to it, especially considering the things that switch into Rillaboom do not like taking knockoffs. Flying and fire types that want to keep their boots so they're not too killed by banded wood hammer or banded grassy glide. So personally, I'm going to say that's a no for me, because I think that if you can play aggressively enough to get the knock on the Rillaboom resist, it's a very solid Pokemon personally. Next up we have Togetic is amazing, but no one picks it anymore. I'm not a big Togetic. Oh. Hashtag Lightyear. I'm not a big Togetic guy. I think it's very passive. I know it gets baton pass, but it just has 0 to little damage output. And while it's very bulky, I think obviously not being able to avoid rocks is very annoying, especially when it loses to most rockers, so it's not a great defogger for itself. You can grab momentum with baton pass and they can thunderwave things and things like that, but again, I'm not the biggest. And then we have unbanned Genesect drives only. Now, I'm boring as hell. I don't like unbans and like complex bans at the expense of either what makes the Pokemon unique and good, like in general. Like if you're taking away like no, that's not true. I guess I'm wording it wrong. I think if you take away how should I word this? I'm really struggling on how to word this. If you're taking away all viability from a Pokemon because you're restricting it in a ton of different ways, and yes, I think restricting Genesect in the fact that you can't really hold an item and you can only hold drives, which are typically never really ran unless you're playing the one Heatran matchup or something like that. Why are you allowing the Pokemon? Why are you bringing it down to that level just to kind of like justify allowing it? If it's that fucking broken, maybe we should allow it. And my kind of rule on complex fans is if there's one thing that makes Pokemon broken, whether that be a move, which typically is not the case, I will say, an ability, an item or something like that, then maybe we should ban it. But if it's this Pokemon cannot use items in general, no. If it's no Dragon Dance, Cure, and Black, I say no, because I think that Freeze Dry and Scale Shot are still broken, so it should still be banned. And then if we're taking away 3 moves from it, again, you're just kind of compromising what makes that Pokemon so good in the first place, and you're just, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of super complex bans. Things like no Speed Boost Blaziken is different, because Blaziken is not broken without Speed Boost. That is the only thing that breaks it. So if we take away that, it's still the same Pokemon, it's just not broken. Opposed to taking away the Pokemon's like entire identity as, you know, a physical or special breaker, which is what Blaziken does really well, or Swords Dance Sweeper and things like that. It can still accomplish those things, but it's not going to be broken. Whereas if you take away items from a Pokemon, moves from a Pokemon, like multiple and things like that, it's just not going to work out as well, personally. I don't know. Maybe I didn't explain that well, and I don't think I did. But I'm not a really big fan of like super complex bans just for the sake of allowing new things. I think that this format is fun because of the innovation that arises from it within the what do you call it? The metagame that we have, and you know how balanced it can be if it's done properly. Next up, we have 2 Eject Pack ones. I'm just going to briefly touch on it. I don't think Eject Pack's very good. There are niche instances in which it's useful. I've run Eject Pack Latios a few times. I've especially run Eject Pack Zeraora with close combat. When you play like a Nidoking or a Nidoqueen, you knock into close combat and you get a good chip, and then you pivot out, which is again pretty clutch. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the item overall. I'd rather just pull a double and have a better item or something like that, personally. But next up, we have another, if you lose to RNG, no getting mad. I think it's dumb. But that's just me. All players should be required by law to get their hands on their knees to worship a statue of Glow King for at least an hour a day. Amen. Amen, brother. I won't like touch on this because obviously it isn't like a super serious one. But I do very much so agree in the fact that G-King is amazing. I was kind of put on a light. I was kind of one of the few G-King haters in the world, think he's mad overrated. I tried it in BBT and I loved it. So we'll move on. Kurt saying what Pokemon needs to stop doing to achieve success. Stop playing Pokemon and go outside. This. Next up we have Nishoba here saying, can I put multiple hot takes because I think Slowking is better than Slowbro in a lot of matchups. Yes, Slowbro is a better versus top fighting types, but Slowking has a niche move called Dragon Tail that can stop Calm Mind. The AV set is also better versus a special breaker like Mega Guard. I think this is again a really funny one because I like the first part. Like if you're like, I think that Slowking is better than Slowbro personally, that's fair. But then he's like, yo, it gets Dragon Tail. I don't know if that's why I would say. So I think the personal preference that you like Slowking more than Slowbro is fair, but maybe Dragon Tail isn't the reason that it is, you know? That's just me. Next up we have Lars El Scissor saying front office is bad. Good drafting / team building are essential skills in the format. Front office are just one step right away, I'm assuming you meant behind ghosting, barring leagues which are set team events. And I think this is dog shit take. I don't know. I think to say that you can't get help building or you're basically getting ghosting is kind of ridiculous because you can get all the help in the world. And I have some great friends who just aren't very good at Pokemon. They like to play. Obviously, I'll help them build and things like that. And, you know, the same thing will happen. You can, again, help them build a phenomenal team, or at least as good as a team as you can help them build. You can go over mocks, you can go over scenarios. But at the end of the day, unless you are actually actively ghosting them, they have to pilot it to a win. I think building is incredibly important, but if you're just putting heads together to build a good team, it's not an automatic win because you have a good build. If you suck, you're going to lose. Like, more often than not. Regardless of how good your build is, you still have to pilot it well. So I don't agree personally. I think this is a pretty bad take. At least in my mind. I don't know. ZDH next is going to be here, and he's going to say, kind of a weird take, but Store Power is beyond broken when used properly, and can destroy many matches without a problem. Without it, mons like G-King are less degenerate. This is an interesting take. Again, I just feel like it's maybe like Draft a Dark type kind of thing. Got smashed by one too many, like, Clefable, I guess Clefable doesn't get checked by Dark, you know what I mean though. Like one too many Reuniclus Muse type mons, Necrozma, and like Fat Setup. But I think Fat Setup definitely has plenty of ways around it to be kind of punished due to its slow nature, its passivity. Obviously, crits are an option, phasing, taunt, status. Like there's definitely ways of beating it. I think you just have to prepare for it. So I don't think that Stored Power is broken unless you don't really like know how to build properly. Next up, we have Nishoba saying Tapu Fini is trash. No recovery and poor offense makes it so bad in battle. What? Primarina is way better in my book because it can threaten stuff, give momentum, and even stop a sweep with Aqua Jet. What? Okay, I like Prim. Prim's not a bad Pokemon, but to be like Fini is passive and bad and it doesn't have recovery is dumb. I think Fini is incredibly annoying to switch into with Knock and Surf and Moonblast and Nature's Madness and Calm Mind and Ice Beam and like offensive pump sets. I think offensive Calm Mind Fini is really fucking annoying to switch into. It's not passive at all in my mind too. What's its special attack stat? Let's look at Fini's special attack stat. It's passive Fini with its 95. Yeah, that's insane. Obviously you don't have reliable recovery, which is a downside to it, but between Draining Kiss this gen, as well as Leftovers plus Protect, you can pretty easily keep yourself healthy as long as wish support from your team. And there's a lot of waters in the format that don't have recovery, like fucking Primarina, which is much less bulky. I don't know. I think Fini is amazing. I think it offers great utility offensively and defensively. I love this Pokemon. It's great as a win con, as a pivot, as a wall, as a tank, as a cool Scarfer. It gets Trick, it gets Whirlpool to trap things with Nature's Madness and Taunt and Knockout. Like, it does so many things so well. So I don't know. I definitely disagree there. Okay, next up we have Dynamax OP. Is this Casper? I feel like this is Casper. The Phantom looks familiar. Stop laying out a plan without alternatives needing them on you. You don't have yet, you will 100% get sniped. Yeah, it's definitely good. I think people should plan out drafts a little bit more often, trying to fill out roles. Like we said earlier, I posted saying I'm getting this specific Pokemon. I think you can really struggle if you do that. Next up is Tony saying Tail Slap A-Spawn was a change LC needed to popularize, and losing A-Spawn and Jenny ruined it. I don't want to hear it, Mr. Forfeited, because he didn't feel like playing in one of his games. Tony's obviously fucking around here. He likes Apom, and he wants us to allow Tail Slap Apom and LC, which won't happen. So yeah, sorry. Next up, we have Soul Blaze, and this is a spicy take, and oh man. Accuracy dropping moves should be allowed. Sandveil and Snowcloak should be allowed with manual weather setting. Heavy duty boots should not ignore Suki Web, bring back HPs. The bottom two aren't that big of a deal, right? That's whatever. But the fact that accuracy dropping moves should be allowed came out of a draft league player, competitive Pokemon player's mouth, blows my mind. If I had to play against Sand Attack Umbreon potentially, I would drop this game forever. I just would not play it. I don't understand how... Accuracy dropping is just like the epitome of like non-competitiveness and just cheese and luck reliant RNG. Obviously there's luck involved in Pokemon, but we try to minimize those things with the different clauses that we have, the different clauses that Smogon have to make the game more inherently competitive. And shit like that is not competitive. Now Sandveil and Snowcloak, I think that's fair. If you want to allow those in your league, even with not manual weather setting, that's fine. But it's also kind of this tweet is framed in a way that makes it sound like Snowcloak and Sandveil are more broken than like fucking Sand Attack or Minimize or whatever it might be. Like I don't know. I'm not a big fan of like inherently uncompetitive strategies and things like that are like just cheese. It's funny when you get it to work, but I just think it's really bad for the integrity of the game, and I do not agree. Next up, we have another spicy take in JB saying Mew is trash, especially if all you do is run Stallbreaker / Hazards like most people do, with a yawning emoji. Now, I do agree with the Hazards part, but Stallbreaker Mew is the best set. I don't know. I think people try and shoehorn offensive Mew way more often and struggle with the shitty base 100 attack set. Fat Mews are the best Mews. The utility that this thing offers defensively, while it can be offensive, it can set up, it can be a Scarfer, it can be a bunch of different things. Stallbreaker with just either Super Fang, Nightshade, Seismic Toss, whatever it might be, and like Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, and Roost, it's just unmatched in viability. I don't know. I think it just blanket checks so much of the game and can 1v1 so many different things that it's really hard to say, like, don't run this. This isn't the best set objectively. Again, DD sets are cool. Calm Mind sets are cool. Nasty Paw's dope. Bulk Up, Swords Dance, Dragon Dance. They're all dope. But consistently, if you want to perform well, a lot of the times you're going to see Mew running a Stallbreaker set. It's going to be great. Next up, we have the opposite of what Matt said and saying Uber's draft is boring and not fun. We'll never do one again. I think that's just a personal preference thing. If you enjoy, lower tiered Pokemon and not having those big broken top tier mons, maybe that's not the case. Maybe that's, what you feel. But if you enjoy using those fun mons like that, then, or if those mons seem fun to you, then obviously you're going to enjoy Uber's draft. So I think that's just a personal preference. Next up is Rio here saying, stop drafting crutch mons and give more new things a try. You'll never know what you like if you're not, or what you're good with until you try it out. Example, I hated Plex, but it clutched so many wins for me. Or OG here in his original take on Glow King. Also learn diverse set. Use new things to learn. Well, now, I do think this is fair to an extent. If you want to get better, you have to broaden your horizons. If you pigeonhole yourself into drafting the same shit every single time, you're the guy who can only draft Rain, you're the guy who can only draft Sand, and that's how you win games, you're obviously not going to be very good without it, and you need to kind of diversify your playstyles and things like that. Now, you should find a level of comfortability, especially in a league where you really want to do good. Draft what you're comfortable with. But if you're playing in a bunch of side leagues and you're trying to get better, it's good to experience new things, try new Pokemon, because again, that is how you expand your repertoire and you find more things that you're comfortable with. So I do agree to an extent. Next up, we have Skyrander here. Let's scroll down really quick, see how much more we have. Does this, open up again? Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Let's go, team. I lost. There we go. 4 times weak mons are bad because of hidden power in a planned matchup meta. I don't think that's true. Obviously, hidden power is not a thing anymore. So I don't know if we can say this objectively though. I remember before in Gen 7 and Gen 6, a lot of people draft multiple 4 times weak mons as long as they were different 4 times weaknesses. Things like Scizor, Zygarde, or Chomp and things like that. Lando plus Scizor was another really common one, as well as a good momentum core, because of the fact that your opponent was kind of forced to choose a hidden power opposed to slapping on just HPIs for your Landers or whatever that might be. So I don't know. I think this is a weird take. I think just because the move hidden power existed and Pokemon could have coverage for you, the fact that you can't draft them because that makes them bad, I don't know. Next up, we have a good one from Jesse. Look at this banger, 11 likes, saying make shit cheaper if it's not getting drafted. And then Shuckle says, and make things more expensive if they get drafted too much. They're def hot takes. These are def hot takes for some reason, even if it makes perfect sense. So I definitely think that this is fair. If Pokemon are consistently, year in and year out, just not getting utilized and used properly, go ahead and bump them down a little bit. Incentivize the drafting of them more so that they get picked up and they can be more explored in the format. And maybe they need to move back up, but we won't know if nobody fucking drafts them ever. Nobody's drafting Gyarados right now. We need to start moving down a little bit more. Nobody's drafting, you know, like these random, like, you know, shitter mons that are in 8.7 points because they're just not worth drafting over other Pokemon in the same tier as them or 1 point higher or even 1 point lower. So we should start moving things down solely based on the fact that, again, we need like the format to kind of expand. In order to see how good a Pokemon is, we need to kind of, you know, have them actually get drafted. Now, in your head, you might be like, okay, this mon would be too good for this price point, but realistically, 1 or 2 points too isn't going to make or break a Pokemon too. That's also another hot take. I think if a Pokemon's 1 or 2 points off, it's not the biggest fucking deal, because it's a points draft, but that's just me. Next up, we have Cody Gamer saying, I'm not toxic for drafting Chansey in every league. Hey, man, if you enjoy drafting Chansey, you draft Chansey again. If you're comfortable with it, you draft it. This isn't too hot of a take. I think it's probably more so a joke with people yelling at him because they can't break Chansey. Tell them to bring the fucking move knockoff or bring mixed breakers with the plentiful fighting coverage that so many Pokemon get, or just a strong offensive fighting. Get a Passage. There's so many ways to be a Chansey. So whoever you're playing with that's upset with you drafting Chansey, tell them to step it up a little bit. Next up we have Jamvad at Hida Fajita. So he's definitely an absolute agent with the least agency take of all time. Speed boost Blaziken is B tier. I know this is like a common trend, especially in like Galadex Wi-Fi leagues, people thinking Blaziken's not fucking broken. But I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. The reason Blaziken isn't as good in Smog standard play is because it's crazy for Moveset syndrome when trying to cover an entire metagame. And a metagame where you're placing 12 Pokemon at max, typically 11 at max though, all the way down to 8, you usually don't have 4 Moveset syndrome with your Blaziken, and there's pretty much a set that can win outright in any matchup in like a standard draft setting. So personally, I think it's a bit ridiculous to say like, I don't know. I think Blaziken should actually be banned, guaranteed. Next up, we have Keegan say, Pokemon don't need to have an attacking move to not be passive. And this is definitely fair, depending on, you know, what you're doing. If you're not taunt fodder and you can, like, encore something or taunt something or get good momentum with teleport and baton pass and things like that, that's definitely fair as a take. But below we have Gohan needing help writing an essay about this. He said Coinbase wallet hacked then. He's just trying to get a little bit of a ratio going. Oh no, they're gone. There's a bunch of replies down here. It says 4. Okay, next up we have another one that says Drag Pulse priced way too highly. Again, we kind of talked about this before with Aquarius. I think it's by far the best Pokemon in the format. And I think to say otherwise is pretty crazy, personally. So I don't know. Next up we have Ethan here saying one of the main reasons I feel like why Draft League never hit the algorithm the same way as when the GBA first did is because the content isn't worth the time and the skill players nowadays exhibit. 2 obtuse to invite a new audience, and I don't know if that will ever change. I agree. Again, I said it earlier, I don't think that if you want to play Draft League and you want to be a big YouTuber and you want to do it off Draft League, I think you're making the wrong types of videos. I'll be honest. Now, you might have 1 or 2,000 or something like that, but you're not going to blow up to like, you know, for lack of a better idea, like A-Drive level of subs, or even like Pokemon, who's what, like 300-400k, something like that, 300-500. Whereas he does competitive Pokemon, he's very good at the game, but he plays a much more generalized format that a lot more people can kind of get into and, like, you know, understand and gain interest in. So I personally 100% agree. I think if you're playing draft to blow up, you're probably playing the wrong format. But also, I don't play it for that. I play it because I love it. I think it's great. One thing I don't love, though, is this take. Celesteela is ban-worthy. It has a few insanely powerful sets, and prepping for all of them is simply impossible in most drafts. If you predict it to be a bulky set and activate weakness policy, you lose. If you think it's weakness policy, you don't immediately chunk it, you lose. It's top legal mon by miles. This is crazy to me. Now, in Gen 7, where Z moves exist, I would understand this argument to an extent. But in Gen 8, with the crazy power creep we have, and the insane Pokemon we have at the top in Dragapult and Urshifu, I think Celesteela is like a late round 1 pick. Like, it's very good. Leech is annoying, it's a fat behemoth, it's strong, it's very versatile, but to see this Pokemon is broken is insane. Auto sets aren't broken in the sense that you have Scarfers that can pretty consistently outspeed it. There's ways to pivot around the fat, annoying, bulky sets. Like, I don't know. And also the idea that if you think it's weakness policy and don't immediately chunk it, you lose, isn't true when it's reliable recovery is leech seed. So I don't think that's fair, at least personally. Next up, we have Crossbow here saying spikes are better than rocks. To be honest, this is an okay take, I guess. Realistically, I think hazards in general this generation are not amazing, but again, they're important, and I think spike stack is definitely a very viable option, especially with good knock spam. I think Ferrothorn's an amazing spike setter, because it knocks off the entire game as well, and then just continues to spike and leech up and things like that. It really chips down things for your offense, so I think that's good. Next up, we have J. Ricky here. He kind of talks about Garchomp right here, saying it's incredibly overrated and it should not be priced as the same as Mew, Tornti, Steela. I think this is an okay take. I'm personally a big Garchomp guy, but I know a lot of people aren't, and I think that's fair. I think the Scale Shot set is a little bit overutilized and kind of like over put on a pedestal by some people, whereas it's not as good as a lot of people think. I think Garchomp's usually a lot better doing other things, but I still think it's a potential top 5 mon in Galar decks personally. I love it. It's definitely like in like close to that top 10 or top 5. And then we have Rillaboom being bad, oh no, he's the opposite, which I agreed with. Not really a hot take, but I do not think Rillaboom is as bad as some other people make it out to be. Your draft just has to support it. It is very matchup dependent, but very good. See, I feel like Rillaboom can come to every matchup as long as your team facilitates it well and really appreciates those U-turns that it grabs and the knockoffs that it spreads and things like that. So I agree, J. Ricky. Rillaboom is amazing. I think it's a good Pokemon. While people are team building, from Ace here we have, while people are team building, you think way too much about 1v1 Pokemon matchups, not multi-turn sequences that gain them an incremental advantage. Also, barely anyone puts the time and effort into building their lead. They just pick a man or mom with a U-turn or a good matchup. And Kara here says that's a different observation, but not a hot take. And I get why she says that, right? Because again, from the showdown side of the community, this is kind of common knowledge. But I think if you look at, you know, your standard Wi-Fi leagues or your standard showdown leagues, whether like friend leagues, more casual leagues and stuff like that, is they aren't thought of like this. This isn't a normal thought to a lot of people. And I talked about it in another video, the idea that sequencing and, you know, things like that and kind of planning out your game and putting yourself in advantageous positions by via your building and your momentum grab and things like that isn't as normally thought of by other people. They think, I need this to check this to check this is my win con, this is a good Scarfer to revenge this, things like that, but they're not seeing how these Pokemon kind of fall into place in the grand scheme of things. And again, I always just go back because it's always the one I remember, because last time I talked about it was right after BBL Finals. It was when I was building for BBL Finals against Matt. I could very easily sequence out the beginning of the game, in the sense that I had an Urshifu lead. I could always grab a U-turn on the Prim, which would always allow me Pharaoh, which would allow me a free Spike, and then I can kind of go from there, which will bring in the Solgaleo, which would allow me to pivot into my Scythertoad, which would give me rocks, and then the sequence would kind of continue itself from there. But being able to kind of guarantee that I had like a Spike and a Rock up early against a lot of variations of Matt build, which is crazy because he actually didn't end up bringing Prim, but we ended up getting Spikes, I believe. I don't remember, the game was a while ago. Is again, it's something that a lot of people don't think about, and sometimes they might even naturally just do it. But I think it's an important thing to know. So I think this is a good thing to post here, because a lot of people wouldn't think of something like this, despite you know some people thinking of it. Next up, we have Shadow Wudo here saying, not a super hot take, but I feel like players focus too much on stacking tight cores than rather finding mons that synergize strongly with their top mons. I also feel like a few people maximize Mew's potential. Few people maximize Mew's potential, and it often goes based on teams. The Mew thing is definitely fair. A lot of times people kind of pigeonhole Mew into certain roles. I think when you draft with Mew, you should draft it if you don't have a Mew, and then you have a Mew and you're like, oh shit, let's go. I have a Mew to do whatever I need it to do and kind of fill the holes for the rest of my team. But the top one is definitely fair. A lot of times you'll see people, oh, that's my team for MLG. Oh, just kidding. It's haha, it's not on the right screen. It's all good. I already played that game anyways. But I think this is fair in the sense that like, people will say I need a grass type because it checks ground types, or you can just grab a ground resist. I mean, if you look at my BBL team, I think my BBL team's amazing. I don't have a grass type that resists ground, but I got a Buzzwole, I got a Togekiss, I got a Suicune. Like I check things that, you know, kind of I check those offensive grounds with those Pokemon. So I think what do you call it? I think as long as you're filling those roles, you're fine. Instead of getting the typings, because again, people think you need a drafted grass type in order to, one, check the offensive grounds, and two, switch into bulky waters. If you have ways of doing that, then you don't need a grass type. You just need something that does those roles that the grass type can typically fill. Okay, this one we already talked about. Chomp Wall Cell is not the same on draft. See Porygon as a check. This is kind of the same take we were just talking about. I think this is a very weird way of kind of framing it and saying I don't like Garchomp. Seeing Porygon as a check. 1, it's a fucking Porygon. 2, you're probably 2-hit KO'd after Rocks by Life Orb or Banned. I guess it just checks like setup sets. I don't know. It's just a very weird way of framing something like this. This right here. I don't know. Personally, I'm very much so big on Garchomp, and I think when you say like, well, look at this low tier Pokemon that checks it, it's just a very weird, gross generalization. Whereas one person might have Porygon, it's not even on every team. But yeah. Next up is Rio here saying timers should be mandatory in leagues, but not the cheesy Wi-Fi timer, the actual turn timer. It's enough time to calc without giving cheesy win for timer stalling. And this is definitely fair. Now, this isn't like a super hot take for a lot of people, but I know there's some showdown leagues that genuinely get very upset if you try and turn on timer, or people that get upset when you try and turn on timer. But I think if you can't make a formulated decision in a minute, you shouldn't be playing, personally. So I definitely think this is fair. With Randy, I'm not even going to entertain this shit. Regieleki is lecturing the format. Nice bait, my friend. I'm going to move on to the next, though, which is Odie here. Is it Odie or Audie? I always say this. While points draft, inherently lead to fair pricing of mons, I believe that tier draft leads to more variety of mons used in actual games due to the power of top-heavy builds and point draft. In my opinion, this is a case where restriction breeds creativity. I think this is wrong. I think that, well, yeah, it does lead to fair pricing, but I think that tier drafts actually lead to much more restrictive drafting and building, because you put so many Pokemon that really aren't that close to each other in viability in one bubble, to where it forces people to draft the same shit over and over and over again. Whereas instead of having a Pokemon in Infernape, like Gen 7, Infernape would be on the cusp of tier 1 in a lot of leagues, or like high tier 2. If it was a tier 2 in the league, for sure, we're drafting Infernape, baby. But in tier 1, a lot of times it wouldn't get drafted very often because of the fact it just was not close to as good as the other tier 1s that you could be drafting on a consistent basis. So Infernape didn't end up getting drafted. And again, that's restriction, is stopping what you can draft. And I think the idea that top heavy is inherently better than more balanced teams and things like that, teams that have more mons, is bullshit. And I think it's a very, again, closed-minded way to look at a more gray situation. It's not black and white. So I don't agree with this take personally. We have another Mew one. Mew is dope. I agree. But I don't know if this is a hot take. Mew is amazing. But it is. This is a hot take. Right here. Witchard here saying baton passing stats should be allowed. I'm also fine with doing it in a limited form, so just only being allowed to pass boosts in one stat. For example, Scully's passing its speed boost to another mon. No SD boost. I don't know. I feel like Pokemon that can't boost speed shouldn't be able to boost their speed. Personally, I feel like Pokemon that can't boost their special attack or attack shouldn't be able to. There are reasons that these Pokemon have the move flaws they do, because certain things would, you know, make them unbalanced. My Mega Mobile should not be able to be faster than your entire team. My Mega Medicham should not be able to be faster than your entire team. There should be a little bit of what do you call it, balance when it comes to that, and that's how these mons are balanced. I personally just don't. I hate baton pass stats. I think it's so inherently uncompetitive, and I don't enjoy it. But again, I'm a Debbie Downer. Double is good, actually. This is an Amel burner account. So how's it going, Amel? But I'm not the biggest double guy, but I've seen people have success with it. So maybe that's it. Who knows? Next up, we have David here saying lukewarm take, tier draft is worse than poison draft. That is a very lukewarm take. We kind of just talked about that too. Hot take, people need to stop apologizing after a crit. This is competitive mons, god damn it. I agree. I mean, like, if you want to apologize, you can apologize. But if you're not really sorry, should we be able... And I'm definitely a person who's guilty of this, or I'll quit someone, I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, in the chat. And then in my head, I'm like, I'm not sorry. I'm glad I got a crit, because now I'm in a better position. I got lucky. I think it's good to acknowledge that you got lucky. I think acknowledgement of luck is good. But, like, saying I'm sorry or, oh my gosh, blah, 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 isn't necessarily needed unless you genuinely are. Unless you genuinely feel bad, then, you know, that's fair. Next up, we have Robert Panda, the Rambats main. So I don't know what he has to say about draft. He doesn't play draft, so he doesn't really, like, get too many opinions here. But pretty crazy, but I actually believe drawing to be a necessary factor in draft leagues. I don't know what this means. I don't think it is. If you don't have the time to play, you shouldn't play draft league, personally. Slowbro for its points is overrated, says Dicey here. Lots of bulky waters do the same thing for way cheaper. Bonus Mega Slowbro is bad. No, I love Slowbro. Not everything does what Slowbro does. Very little does what Slowbro does. And a water type with Regenerator, also reliable recovery, teleport for momentum, and it can trick room, it can throw out future sights, it can calm mind, it can nasty ball, it can do so many different things. It spreads so much status. I think this is a bad take, and I also think Mega Slowbro is amazing in a non-first turn Mega League, where you can continuously regen around for the year of the game, and then when you need that crazy physical bulk and the ability to not be crit, you just Mega up and you're good. And no item, so you're not as big of a knockoff fighter. Then we have Dragon Fruit saying dedicated leads and having lead game plans are more important than people give credit while building. It could be your best chance to surprise the opponent, or just identifying that it's a problem for your the turn your opponent's willing to play the riskiest. So I get, like we talked about, like being having a dedicated lead is very, very important, obviously. But I don't think what do you call it? I don't think you necessarily need to play aggressively turn one. I think knowing how to take a calculated risk is really, really important, personally. And knowing if I make this play and I get it wrong, am I in a terrible position? Can I come back from this? Do I lose? Is a really important thing to be able to identify. Even if you're like very convinced someone's going to make a play, if you get that play wrong, do you lose? Yes, then maybe you shouldn't do it. Now, if it's also the vice versa, where it's endgame and you need to make a play in order to win, and if you get it wrong, you lose, but also if you don't get it right, you lose, like if you make the passive play, then, you know, obviously it's a little bit more for 50-50 and you have to make that decision. Next up, we have some pretty interesting ones here. We have Hunby here. Draft League prowess is directly correspondent to how ugly and gay you are. It's because the ugly genes and the gay genes fusing become the one true gamer Draft League god. Like myself, by the way, send happy mails to me. Okay, I don't know how to read that, but that's something. Maybe that's why I'm so bad at draft, because I'm so handsome. I don't know. And then they're just responding themselves, which is cool. And then we have right here, is it Pierre? I don't know. Mr. Morals, I think. Anybody who doesn't say good luck, have fun at the beginning / GG at the end, or just bitches with saltiness should be banned from leagues. It's Pokemon, for Christ's sakes, who cares? I will raise you this. It is Pokemon, for Christ's sakes, who cares? Exactly. So why are you so upset when someone doesn't say good luck to you? Or why are you mad when someone doesn't say GG to you? If it doesn't matter, then why are you so mad? I don't think people have to. I think if you want to say it, you should say it. If you don't have to, if you don't want to, you shouldn't have to. A league with more unbans would always be funner than one with many bans. Let me get Gren or the Megalotics, please. And again, I think this is fair. I think it comes down to personal preference. I like more balanced leagues, but I play for the competitive aspect of it. Other people just want to try new Pokemon, try things that don't get to be used, use really fun broken mods, and I think that's definitely a fair aspect of draft. And it really just has to come down to personal preference. And yeah, we'll scroll all the way back up, and that is basically going to be it. This was a really long one, an hour and 12, and I kind of skimmed over a lot of them, but I really do appreciate the support on this one. This one was a lot of fun. Again, if I was making fun of your take, or I didn't agree with it, and I kind of ripped into it a little bit, no hard feelings. Again, this is hot take, so I appreciate you in, you know, going out on a limb and telling me what your hot take was. Again, no ill will. It's just, obviously, I'm going to disagree, and you're going to disagree with me, and that's what makes debates and subjects like this fun. It's what makes Draft League fun. It's what makes life fun in general. If everybody agreed with everybody, life would be so goddamn boring. So I'm definitely here for it. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did enjoy this video too. And yeah, that being said, drop a like if you enjoyed, sub if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, and drop what Twitter discussion you want to see next. Alright, later.